Welcome back to Just Talking. We have a great guest for us today, and that is Catherine Mary Stewart. She's an excellent actress. Catherine, thanks so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Love
Well,
Wisconsin.
Yes, there we go. There we go. Well, Catherine, let's start off. Well, how did you get involved in acting?
Well, if you want to go back to the real grassroots,
Okay.
I come from a pretty animated family, I want to say. My parents are academics, but I watched my dad lecture one time, and he just is a performer up there in front of his class. And just we kind of were, like I said, animated in our family. And when I was in junior high school, my mother suggested that I take acting as an optional class, and I loved it. I loved being on stage. I loved being in front of people. It just felt right to me. And then moving forward from that, I got into dance as well. And I found that I fell in love with dance too. So move forward, I did acting, theater, and all through high school and everything. Moving forward, I decided to pursue dance. I was in a dance company in my hometown of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And after graduating from high school, I moved to London and studied at this theater arts school, which was primarily dance, but had acting and singing and every other kind of performing arts you can think of. And one day I was on my way to class, and a couple of my classmates from my dance class were going the other way. And I was like, what are you doing? Class is that way. And they said, well, we heard about this audition, this dance audition for a movie. And we thought we'd just go ahead and see what it was like. So I thought, maybe I should do that too. So I joined them, and I skipped out of, dance class, and we went to this, it was a cattle call audition for this movie, this futuristic rock and roll movie, as it turns out. And I was in there dancing away, and the director saw me and thought I looked right for the lead role. Cut to like 3 days later, I'm in this movie in the lead role, a feature film. So that was the beginning of my career as an actor. I thought I was going to be a dancer for a while, but no, I got into this acting, and it was a lead role, so it looked really great on a resume, and it inspired me to move to Los Angeles. And based on this role, I got an agent, and I started going out on auditions when I got to LA. And it took about 6 months or so, but I got a few bit parts, and then I landed a role on Days of Our Lives, the original Kayla Brady.
Do you still kind of dance a little bit, even though you're an actress?
It's not so much that I'm an actress that not dance, it's that I'm really old. The whole dancing thing is like, oh, my knees, ow, my back. But I do a lot of sort of dance, yoga, Pilates-based exercises. I jog, I do a little bit of jogging and power walking and stuff, and then I do a lot of stretching. So.
Oh, electric. You can't see her soap, she'll hyperventilate.
Great day for picnic, Maggie.
Can't wait, Mr. Boone. Catch yourself a big one.
Well, let's talk about when you landed the role as Maggie in The Last Starfighter. Wow, what a great movie. How did you get involved in that one?
So, I was on Days of Our Lives at the time, actually, and it was the pretty usual audition experience. I auditioned, and then I got a call back, and they paired us off with different people, and I was paired off with Lance Guest. And we were to go in and read for the director, producer, etc. So he and I kind of got together, and Lance is a very focused actor. I'm a little more fly by night. I'm just like, go do it, what fun. So we sort of went out into the hall, and we talked about the roles and, our relationship, and we sort of read through the lines and all that stuff. And I'm sure we read a scene or two as well. And apparently they liked us together. So it went from there. We were cast.
He said I was on his way home.
Blake lives on the other side of town.
Come on, Alex. I wanted to get back to you.
Chemistry between you two are just terrific on that. Was it like off camera as well, or how was it working with Lance Gus?
Oh, for sure. Lance, of course, he had a much larger role in this movie than I did. So he was working, but whenever I was on set, we did night shooting for me specifically. At any rate, yes, whenever I was on set, it was lovely. He was wonderful. We also got together a few times before we started shooting just to get to know each other. So we really had a sense of each other. So that helped a lot. And we really liked each other. Also, Nick Castle, the director, was such a lovely man, so benevolent and giving, and this was sort of like a labor of love for him. So, and you really felt that on the set. And it's funny, but I think that in movies that are like that, it comes through the screen. You know what I mean? You could tell that it was a happy set. And it really, really was. It was such a lovely experience. It was the first movie I did in Los Angeles. And as a matter of fact, I was working on Days of Our Lives at the same time. So there was a couple of days there where during the day, I was working on Days of Our Lives, and then I would have to drive out into like canyon country and shoot at night. So that was a little bit challenging, but I'm not going to complain, that's for sure.
Right. Is there a real Starlight, Starbright? I mean, it seemed like it would be a great tourist attraction site, or was it a set that was built?
Well, there was a trailer park there. It was a pretty rundown trailer park. And I don't think it was called Starlight, Starbright. I think that was a sign that they created. But there was a trailer park, and they just dressed it up, in almost a cartoony sort of way. Make it lots of bright colors, and it was that little community. So that was there, and actually a lot of people. There's a Last Starfighter Facebook page, and a lot of fans will try to find it, and they do. They find the little convenience store at the top. But I guess the last thing I read a few days ago actually was that the trailer park is gone, but the road going down to it is still there, and the little convenience store is still there.
Centauri's the name. I invented Starfighter, which is why I'm here.
It is?
It is. We have to talk about a matter of utmost importance. Step into my office.
I don't think you had any scenes with him, Robert Preston. For the table read, did you get to meet him, or either at the premiere?
The only time I met Robert Preston was when we were doing reshoots at Lorimar Studios. I had a couple of pickup scenes that they wanted to do, and I arrived one afternoon for whatever it was I was going to be doing, and he was just leaving. And Nick Castle introduced me, and yeah, it's so bizarre because we never actually were on set together at all. But I was just like starstruck. He was such a, he kind of glowed, he had this sort of gold aura about him. And he took my hand, and he says, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Catherine," and he kissed it. And I was just, I don't know, he had to be in his 60s and I was in my 20s, and I'm like, I'm never washing my hand again. I think he may have been the biggest movie star I'd met up to that point. So.
Hey, look out! Stop!
Oh, dear.
Hit the brake! Hey!
Why do you think that movie is so special? I mean, it's lasted all these years, and I could see why, but I'd like to hear your perspective why that movie lasted as long as it has.
Well, I think that the audience identifies with the characters, I think it's as simple as that. The characters are inaccessible somehow in these like super scientific sci-fi superhero movies. And this is about a boy, and he plays a game, and all of a sudden he's thrust into this extraordinary situation. And it's just sort of a metaphor really for it's like Otis says, you got to grab on with both hands.
Hold on tight.
It's for kids that it's such a turbulent time in their lives when they're graduating from high school, and all of a sudden they have all these big decisions to make and about their future. And if you have this opportunity, even if it scares you, just grab on.
With both hands. Hold on tight.
I always tell my kids, I have two kids, one's 24 and one's 27. And I used to say that if it scares you a little bit, of course you don't put yourself in danger, but if it scares you, go for it, because that's the most gratifying. The kind of how what the possibilities are. Might not happen, might not work out, but then what difference does it make? You're still in the same position. But if it does work out,
The rest is history.
I mean, I'm sort of a kind of an example of that. Opportunities were presented to me when I took chances. And that's kind of the character of Alex, and even ultimately Maggie, who was more resistant, in the end when he's like, you got to come to outer space with me. And I'm like, huh? But the trailer park and Granny, and I'm trying to come up with every excuse I can because it's a little intimidating, frankly. But, she finally decides to just jump in and see what happens. So I wonder what does happen.
And
There's going to be a sequel.
Exactly. Well, at the time, I mean, to me, it seemed like obviously were they setting up the sequel? Were they in talks with it? Let's hear that story.
Right. So years ago, it has to be like 15 years ago, I was in Los Angeles, and Lance and Nick and I got together for lunch, and Nick was sort of talking about this idea he had for a sequel. And we were like, oh, this is so cool. In fact, I think Lance even wrote a script for a sequel. I mean, it's set up for a sequel.
Oh, you're gonna love it. Love it.
At any rate, he had this idea for a sequel, and it sounded really great, and it involved us, which was even better. It would be so much fun. And if he was involved, it would be, that would be something that would be attractive. So, but they couldn't get the rights from Universal.
Can you wait until I mix your drink? Barely.
So finally, the original writer got the rights back. There's some rule now. After 30 years, you have to turn the rights over to the original writer if they want it.
Return the money.
So Jonathan Betchwell, who's the original writer, got the rights back, and he and Nick have been developing this idea, from what I understand. I know Nick has actually talked about it publicly, so it is something, but I haven't heard for a while, where it is in the process. But hopefully it'll happen.
Did it ever occur to you that it's against the law to recruit from worlds outside the Star League?
I believe there's a new Blu-ray release of The Last Starfighter coming out. Were you involved in that, either audio commentary or special features or anything like that?
Well, I sort of got involved last minute. I did it, I guess Lance and his son Jack did the audio commentary going along with the movie, but they did an interview with me 2 days ago asking about, what it was like to work on the film and work with Lance and all that stuff. So I'm really pleased that I got to be involved with that. I think they plan on releasing it somewhere around Halloween.
Okay.
So.
Well, 1984 was your year. Then came Night of the Comet. Did you start filming right after Last Starfighter, or was it, or how did that come about?
Well, I remember. I'm not sure how long after the Last Starfighter we shot it. I don't remember. It wasn't like back to back.
Back to back. Okay.
I had to do the audition process again,
Sure.
and I was paired with a young actress, and Kelly Maroney, who ended up playing my sister, was paired with another actress as an older sister. So it was surprising, actually, when we were put together ultimately, when we discovered that we'd both been cast as sisters. But again, she and I have stayed really good friends over all these years. I live mostly in New York, but I'm pretty much bi-coastal as well. But that was a lot of fun too, and it was a real nice departure for me in terms of character, because with Maggie in The Last Starfighter, it was, that was kind of the character that I played, kind of the girl next door, sort of sweet and innocent, and all that other stuff, which was great. but it was so much fun to be able to play Reggie, because honestly, she's a little more to my character. I grew up with two older brothers, and I was more of a, I guess, a tomboy. And so for me, it was fun kind of being this sassy, self-reliant, motorcycle riding chick, and like doing the stunts, like the fight scene in the alley with the zombie. It's also tapped in a little to my dance background because I got to do the kicks and the flying through the air. It was really fun.
You were in the film Mischief, but unfortunately, Kelly Preston just passed away. What was your memories of Kelly working on that film?
Kelly was such a lovely person, and she was just so beautiful. And from what I understand, Mischief may have been her very first movie. Lovely, lovely person, just the sweetest thing, and really funny. So nice, such a nice person. And another movie that I'm still in touch with the cast, Chris Nash and Doug McKeon. We see each other also when I go to LA.
Wow.
We always, well, most times we get together for lunch or dinner or something. But they were both, as was I, we were devastated to hear the news. Just because we knew her and knew what a lovely person she was. And from what I understand, although once she got into sort of John Travolta land, she wasn't that accessible. But from what I understand, she's lovely.
Have you learned things from other actors? I saw the list. I'm like, you work with Christopher Reeve and just a number of big names. Do you learn from other actors when you're working on set?
It's really fascinating to watch other actors work, and you kind of try, at least I try to absorb whatever I can. It's amazing watching it. To me, it's all about how comfortable you are in the role, and on set, and just how calm you are. And to get to that point where you're that calm takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of just absorbing the character, learning the lines, and just knowing it through and through before you go on the set. And that's where the magic happens.
Unfortunately, we're still in this pandemic, but are there any projects that we should know about that have you done recently, or any upcoming things that we should know about?
Well, let's see. The last thing I did, which was really interesting, was an episode of New Amsterdam. While we were shooting that, they shut everything down. It was like March. My last day was supposed to be March 12th. And I got to set and they said, you know what, they're starting to close down this hospital that we're shooting at in Brooklyn. So they let me go. And then they called me back because they thought that they could get me into this. The scene was me getting an MRI or something like that. And they were going to be using this big machine. And so it was like back and forth, but it was basically that day, everything shut down. But that scene wasn't imperative to the show. So they aired that show as the finale of the season because they couldn't shoot the finale. In this shutdown, I've been working on a couple of projects of my own for a while. I've written a script, and so I've had the time to kind of really do draft after draft of that. And I've written 2 scripts actually, and I'm working on the third. But the second script, I am working with another writer, and I have a producer as well. And we've actually got a company in Canada that wants it, or is, I guess they're a distributor. And this is how much I know about this stuff. It's a whole different world on the other side of the camera. So we've been working on that, which is very exciting because there's some momentum with that. The script that I wrote originally, it's still my little baby, and I'm not really handing it out to a lot of people yet. And then there's another script I'm working on with a friend of mine who lives in Amsterdam, as a matter of fact. And we're in the process of writing the original script. So
your website, let's talk about that. What is the website? What can people see on it?
Yeah. Well, actually, the website is kind of a mess at the moment. It's sort of under construction, but it's reconstruction, I guess. It's an old website that we're sort of revamping. But yeah, it's CatherineMaryStewart.com, and mostly I use it for a way for people to get in touch with me. Email is the info@CatherineMaryStewart.com, and it comes directly to me. And also, I have a store there. If you want to buy photos, you can buy photos through PayPal. I'm hoping to, include Venmo and whatever else as well at some point. That's kind of stalled right now, but we'll get on it again. And my Facebook page is Catherine Mary Stewart, and I'm on Twitter the handle is at CMSALL. I'm on Instagram, Catherine Mary Stewart. What else am I on? I'm on, those are the big ones, I guess.
Great.
And I love hearing from everybody. If you guys, contact me, I love it because I'm pretty responsive in general.
And I'll leave you with one last question. You go on an arcade, there's The Last Starfighter or Tempest. Which one do you choose?
Oh. Well, I'm going to have to say Tempest because
There you
that's my game.
Little brat. I invent the game, find a kid, drag him up there, and he doesn't want to be a starfighter.
Well, Catherine, may I say it's just a pleasure talking to you. You just have an excellent actress. We look more forward to your more work, and definitely, if there's a Last Starfighter too, we'll definitely be there. And thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, Jason.